Item number 10, please.
Item number 10 is the ordinance amending the administrative code by adding sections 5.400-4.0 to establish a voting system task force comprised of individuals with backgrounds in good government, computer science, or the computer industry, election administration, and accommodations of persons with disabilities to make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors about voting system standards, design, and development.
Supervisor Amiano.
Thank you very much. I think this is a pretty straightforward issue. The idea behind the task force is simple, namely to gather members of the public knowledgeable and active in the areas of election reform, technology, and good government together in order to make recommendations to the board about voting system standards, design, and development. San Franciscans have made their opinions known over and over again that our current anything but transparent system of elections is both undesirable and untenable, and my hope is that this task force will help chart a course towards a standard of voting systems that will stop the erosion of public confidence in our democracy. Madam City Attorney, could you please give us an overview of the ordinance before us, and then I'll open it up to public comment. And I do want to say that this is really speaking to the generic deficits of our voting system, keeping up with technology. I think that our current director of elections, very, very competent and really has done wonders with the limited kind of resources that have been provided. So, Madam City Attorney, Mr. Arntz.
Through the chair, this task force, Supervisor Amiano summed up the purpose. I'll just fill you in that this would add, the task force would, as proposed, consist of 9 members, including 2 individuals representing good government groups, 4 with substantial background in computer science or software, 2 individuals with a background in working in accommodation of persons with disabilities. There's an ex officio member as a representative of the Elections Commission. This is a 2-year body. The body sunsets in 2 years. The appointees would serve at the pleasure of the board.
Colleagues, if there's no questions, I'll open it up to public comment. 2 minutes. Come on up.
Welcome. You have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. My name is Roger Donaldson from San Francisco. I just wanted to thank the committee members for their past support for getting better voting systems, considering when you were considering the Sequoia procurement. As you know, there were no systems that were better systems that were available at that time, and there are some dedicated groups and individuals out there, Open Voting Consortium, Open Voting Solutions, for example, who are working on this, but they don't have the resources, and the county can contribute vastly to that. And so, and I want to thank Supervisor Abiano for offering this resolution and sponsoring it. This is very needed, and as a citizen, I'm sorry, and as a citizen of San Francisco, I'm very proud to see us sponsoring this and moving this forward, and with this task force, we'll take a national leadership role in challenging the current unacceptable state of affairs with respect to the current voting systems and vendors. I'd like to strongly urge your enthusiastic support of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Jim Soper. I am a senior software consultant and the author of a website called Counted as Cast. The current situation is that San Francisco has an expensive voting system. You're locked in. Sequoia can raise the rates on maintenance when they feel like it, and there's not much the city's going to be able to do about it. The source code is hidden. We don't know what's going on inside the machines. And on top of that, in spite of the fact that Sequoia itself is in American hands, the intellectual property rights are owned by a non-American company. That means a non-American company is determining how the votes are going to be counted here in San Francisco. And so this all goes against the idea of open elections and everybody knowing how the votes are being counted. We don't. So the situation is untenable. A task force will provide independent guidance and especially with the technical expertise in there of the people who know about elections and the computer people, provide a chance to review the situation and look at alternatives, including possibly open source. There are at least 3 open source projects going on, and it would be my hope that San Francisco would help lead in testing out and using these systems early on, which is going to be important for the entire country. They've got to be used someplace, they have to be tested someplace, and this San Francisco can step up and do that. I recommend that the city adopt this task force to start it up. And I would just add one other thing. There is a special issue for San Francisco. Auditing a ranked choice election is difficult, and that needs to be looked at very carefully. There are problems with the statistics involved, and so that would be one issue that should be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Sasha Amarani. I'm a resident of San Francisco, and you've heard me testify before for open source voting systems, and I would really like for you to support this task force because I think it's important for you to hear from a body that has taken the time to hold hearings and study the issue other than just us activists that are showing up to beg you to support it. It's necessary. The Election Commission has other duties. The Department of Elections has other duties. So we do need this in our city to set the standards and make recommendations about the design and development and what our election system should be. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Thank you. Chandra Freeze, San Francisco resident. I'd like to thank you for having us today and for considering this. It's a very important step for San Francisco. I've been involved in election integrity issues for at least 4 years now, and it's a wonderful opportunity for us to take this step and have our voting systems analyzed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Alec Bash with Democracy Action. There's another election year upon us, as we all know. The voting systems are in the news once again. Issues have come up, problems arising, and accuracy in counting votes is critical, and transparency is a critical part of that. With the proposed voting systems task force, and thank you, Supervisor Amiano, for sponsoring this legislation. I hope that all of you might become co-sponsors of it. This is an opportunity for San Francisco to take a hard and rational look at what the optimal ways of going forward are. Past the controversy of the past year when the city decided it had no choice but to go forward with the Sequoia voting contract. This provides the opportunity to move forward in a balanced and rational manner, and hope that you all support the creation of this task force to look at things in a very deliberative manner and help ensure that San Francisco has the best voting system in the country. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Mr. Bash, next speaker, please.
Thank you, Supervisors. Brent Turner with the San Francisco Election Integrity League. Wanted to just mention the support of this particular piece by many election reform groups across the country. As you know, San Francisco is the first county to have an open source provision in an election system purchase contract. We look forward to your continued leadership and are hopeful that these particular meetings will be publicly noticed and attended. San Francisco is the open source capital, and we look forward to your continued leadership towards better election systems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Turner. Planthold, welcome.
I'm Bob Planthold, and I hope not only you three, but your 8 colleagues and even our mayor all will support this. I wanted to give you background why. I've served on 4 separate grand juries in the past 9 years. We've always had complaints, questions, concerns about elections. We've monitored them. We've written reports. The last year that I was on the grand jury was a transition from one company to another. We couldn't really get answers from these private companies to some of our questions. My first grand jury was even before ES&S came on the scene. It was a previous vendor. You know, we are figuratively locked out. So having this will be a way that any citizen or the grand jury can get some information, because this would have power. I also want to commend Supervisor Amiano for including the disability aspect. And I think that's relevant because few people are aware or respond there's a disability civil rights lawsuit against the city. And I'm sorry to say, my reading and understanding of some of the proceedings and discussions of the Elections Commission, they're not that knowledgeable about the need for accessible voting equipment as opposed to saving money. You don't have a leading light on the Elections Commission to help move that lawsuit ahead. And if there's nobody put on there when the supervisors get to appoint their person, then maybe this task force can help. So I'm grateful you're doing this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other member of the public who wishes to comment on item number 10 on today's calendar? Seeing none. Supervisor Amarani.
Yes, I'd like to forward this to the full board with recommendation, and I would suggest that the task force get their own web page, and so they can post agendas, and the public can be fully aware of what's happening around this very important issue.
Very good. Any objections to the motion? No. That'll be the order of the committee.